Good evening and welcome to Season 2, Episode 7 of the Pack Homer Podcast. That was a rough showing since we last spoke with you. Tonight we got our guest, Alex G. Appreciate you joining us, Alex.
Yeah, hey, guys, tell me if I'm doing this right.
Oh, that's it!
It's Diet Coke. Sorry.
I like it. Official clip there. So I told the guys before we jump tonight, we're going to talk good, bad, ugly, and then we're just going to give you a little general commentary. We're going to skip completely over the ACC results this week. We got too much NC State baseball to talk about, so we're just going to worry about ourselves. It's kind of what you got to do when you're on the struggle bus. Played 4 times this week. Wesley started out 2-0 as he picked the Liberty and Ohio State losses. Unfortunately, he picked us to beat Alabama and Coastal. And we ended up going 0-4 this week. Lost a 9-8 game to Liberty, where we gave up 4 runs in the ninth. Gave away a 8-5 lead. The Blues squandered that one away. Lost 8-3 against Ohio State, 4-0 against Alabama, and 10-3 against Coastal. I guess not, unfortunately. I had a good time, but we were in attendance for the games down in Jacksonville this week, and to watch us score 6 runs in 27 innings was not something that I saw coming. So I said we're going to do good, bad, and ugly. I don't know how long the good's going to be, but there are probably some good we can glean. We'll start with the good. We'll go a little round robin. We'll start with my man with the ink pen in his hand there, Mr. Wesley Wilson. Wesley, give us something good.
Well, it was a good tournament. It was, the people, we ate some good food and we had a good time.
The rodeo was good.
Yeah, no, the rodeo was great. Not a whole lot for the game, but the good is still early in the season, and heck, even Friday was cold weather baseball. So there's a lot of opportunities to get better, and so you can't put too much stock early in the season, but definitely needs to be some changes in some areas.
Mr. G.
Starting with the good?
With the good. And you can go as long as you want, and I'll come back to you, too.
Yeah, I still think that State's pitching is good.
Yeah.
And I thought we pitched well if we're going, even extended back to the Liberty game in the middle of the week. But I thought these 4-game stretch that we're talking about here, I thought State pitched well, independent of a few guys or a few innings, even if you just want to call it that. Obviously, Duden was sloppy to close the Liberty game, which was a little bit of a headline. And we've talked back and forth, like even as bad as he was in that game and, a little erratic and out of the zone, you're still a fielded ground ball and a good throw from the shortstop away from winning the game. And, you love to learn lessons in wins, right? So like if he went out there and struggled but still closed the game out, you're feeling better. And instead, he carries it over to Sunday, enters the game probably thinking about that and doesn't pitch very well, can't really get in the zone. And, but if we're talking just goods, like there's a laundry list of guys that I trust to put in a game and get you like high leverage outs. If we just, you start with the starters, I thought Heath Andrews was fantastic Saturday. I thought Ryan Marone was even better Sunday. Fritton couldn't really stay in the zone. We chatted about it. It was still 1 earned run. He contributed to a lot of his downfall. But you got a field behind these guys, and that's something that's bothering me. And I'm not looking too far ahead there with our uglies, but we'll get to that. I think you just keep listening. Schaffner looks good. Anderson Nance looks good as a freshman. Freaking Landon Carr gave you a good inning as a freshman, as a JUCO transfer in. Consiglio, his ERA is going to get blown up because of a misplay in right field that leads to a bases clearing inside the park home run. I think it was scored as a triple. So I'm still bullish on the pitching. I think what we're probably going to end up talking about has to get better to take advantage of that, because this is as good as I wonder if you guys agree or not. I had super high expectations for the staff coming into the season. I haven't necessarily been disappointed yet. I think Duden has not been great. Fritton's been a little up and down, but other than that, I mean, I'm not. But those are your two like pros. You expect those guys to figure it out at some point. So the fact that the other pieces have looked good is encouraging to me.
Yeah, just to piggyback off that, and I'll go to you, Adam. I think we threw 12 or 13 different guys this week. And I was really encouraged with what I saw from Anderson Nance. To go back to what you were saying about Heath Andrews, I mean, it kind of got overshadowed because we were just so anemic on offense against Alabama, could never get anything going. But he went up against the SEC team that won 31 games last year. He pitched 5 innings. And they have maybe their shortstop, Justin LeBron, we talked about it last week, is projected to be a top 5 pick, if not the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 draft. He's only a sophomore. He was a player he was the most valuable tournament MVP this weekend. He went 5 innings, gave up 4 hits, struck out 6. You know, I'll be honest, when we talked about the 3 names to open the season, Dom, Andrews, and Marone as being weekend guys, I was probably the most skittish on Heath because he only threw 9 innings or 9 1/3 or something like that last year. Guys, he's gotten a lot better. And he's throwing 94, 95. He's mixing it up. He's consistently, around the zone. I wouldn't say we had anybody that's just absolutely pounding the zone, but he threw 54 out of 89 pitches for strikes. So he was in the zone a lot. And again, an SEC lineup, you give up 4 hits, 5 innings, and 2 runs. He did more than enough to win. And if we had lost the game 4-3, you would have had folks mad. We lost 4-0 and had no offense at all. But you cannot expect to win college baseball games and score only 5 runs.
I think you need 6 or 7.
Yeah, 6 or 7 is like a bare minimum of what you have to. I don't care if you're going, whether it's against Arnold at Florida State or you're going against, Quinnipiac. If you're going to only go out and you're not going to, score any more than 2-3 runs, you're going to lose most games because they're playing with aluminum bats and folks are going to run into some. So, I mean, I thought Heath Andrews was really good. And I think that's definitely a good to take away from the weekend. And to your point, Alex, I think our pitching there's a lot of good to take away from our pitching staff. It's hard too. The mental side of going out there every inning. And you said before we jumped on, Alex, that you don't know if we had 20 minutes total of at bats this weekend. To go sit down for 5 minutes and run back out there, with your 1 or 2-0 deficit, that's tough.
No time to breathe.
Adam?
Yeah, I was going to say pitching too, in particular the starters, obviously. You look at Dom and Andrews and Marone and throw Schaffner in there. The 4 of them combined have a 2.82 ERA on the season so far. So, and you look at Consiglio, he struck out 8 and 4 1/3. So, I mean, we were watching Consiglio yesterday, and we asked the team pitch. What do you call him, Cal? The guy was
the guy that was charting pitches.
Charting pitches, and he said Consiglio was 94. And he was just missing. I mean, he was just outside the zone. Obviously, walked some guys, but he was close. So I think you definitely got to say, and obviously Marone, same thing. I mean, God, he is going to be a special Wolfpack player. I really, really feel like he is. And we just didn't do anything to support him. And to y'all's point, they were just. I mean, it felt like there was times where we were. Cal, I think it was the Alabama game. We were hinting at the immaculate inning a few times. I mean,
yes.
they were just absolutely just pounding that. We had several 3-pitch strikeouts, and then just a lot of weak ground balls that we didn't barrel up at all. Just a lot of balls that we were just getting a piece of. So, I mean, I think you got to say pitching, in this exercise that you got us on, Cal, and particularly the starting pitching. I mean, I do think, Duden's going to come around. I mean, obviously he's got great stuff. Yes, same thing yesterday. The guy told us Duden was 97. I think Sunday.
Yeah,
Was it,
Sunday.
or was it? No, was it? I'm thinking, but when was it? Was it? Maybe it was Tuesday in the Liberty game. Avent said he was 98. So, you know, I the pitching I'm not really worried about. I guess we can get into some of the other some of the uglies.
Well, we're going to save a little bit for the uglies because now we're going to the
Yeah.
bad. I'm going to start with the bad. I'm going to go first. I'm not going to give us a get out of jail free card. This is not why I'm doing this. I'm not making excuses. But one of the things that I would say that is bad right now, I don't know if everyone that listens knows. I think all this is out here now, and I'm probably going to miss some names. We are a very unhealthy baseball team right now. And that is not to make an excuse. I'm just going to read some names for you, though. You got Matt Willitson that's coming back from surgery. Derek Smith. I don't know if anyone's noticed yet, but Derek Smith, D-Rock, has not thrown an inning this year. I will say yesterday he was throwing down the line, and that was one of the most encouraging things I saw all weekend was to see him throwing down the line. So hopefully he's close to coming back. Shane Van Dam, last year, big middle innings guy before his injury. I mean, threw some huge innings for us. Don't have Shane Van Dam. Julian Peasel, the transfer from Greensboro, out for the season, knee injury before the season started. Justin DeCrescio, I don't know if you don't. He's playing every day, but the guy's nursing a hamstring injury. He has not practiced enough. Hadn't played. Didn't play enough in the fall and early spring practices. He's not 100%. He's nursing a hamstring. Ryan Jaros, who's been over at third base. I don't even know how much he was able to participate at all in the fall, coming back from an injury. Josh Hogue, I think Hogue hit 314 for us last year. Everybody remembers, if you're a big NC State fan, the injury he had when he had a compound fracture on a collision in right field. I can tell you right now, I'm not saying anything I don't think he would say. He's not the same Josh Hogue right now. He doesn't look the same. He doesn't run the same. He's trying to come back from a major injury. Trenton Lyons, Ole Miss transfer, who we talked to a lot of people that think that Trent Lyons could be pretty special for us in an NC State uniform. I don't know if you guys saw on Instagram this weekend. He's begging for. I think he's dealing with a nagging injury that he's begging, lower body injury that he's begging to heal up. So we got a lot of guys that are not completely healthy. And then over the course of the season, guys are going to get banged up. You guys, if you watched the game yesterday, Chris McHugh over at first base had a nasty collision on a play. So one of the bad things right now, and it does start to weigh on you the more they add up, is we're not healthy. Not an excuse, but we are not anywhere close to as healthy as you hope to be after only playing 7 ball games. Wes?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, piggybacking off of what you just said, and then overall, back to just that's bad. Again, it's early in the season, right? So you don't want to pick it apart too much. But we the last couple of years we kind of been begging for Power 5 baseball games early in the season. So really would have hoped that we would have, whether we're full go or not, that we would have had a better showing in Jacksonville. Just from the standpoint, I mean, this was pretty marketable event. The tournaments that D1 baseball did throughout the country. So I think that was bad that's how we showed up. This weekend, or didn't show up. I guess maybe is a better phrase to put it offensively.
Alex?
Defense, man. I'm getting pretty frustrated, pretty tired of watching us kind of play a little boot around ball in the infield and in the outfield. You can circle a handful of plays that stand out defensively that we're not used to seeing NC State teams play that way, right? Like, as you talked about guys coming off injury, like Noah Souls came back last year from and was still running down balls like a madman in right field, making big time plays. And I'm not really seeing outfielders cover as much ground as I'd like. I think that inserting Hebner in at third base really transformed that. He made 2 incredibly good plays Saturday against Alabama. One charging barehanded throw across the diamond, and then the other was a diving stop behind the bag. I mean, I don't know how long that throw is, but I think it was a missile. It reminded me of like a throw Manny Machado would make, and we've seen him make a bunch. So I'm glad to see one guy is really out there competing defensively, but it attaches to what we talked about with the pitching. If the pitching's going to be good, we got to play good defense behind it, because college baseball is so damn hard, and it's so offensively focused that if you just give away outs, you're just asking for trouble. Like we saw it. The prime example is Friday. Fritton fields a bunt, turns to make a throw to first, and I don't even know if he got the throw off. And was it 2-3 pitches later? It's a 3-run home run.
Yeah, I don't even know if it was a bunt. Was it like a swing? It might have been a bunt, swinging bunt. Yeah,
the play he needs to make. Needs to make it, and he makes it. You can pick a handful of examples where the fourth out, so to speak, has created a lot of run support for the other team. And if you mentioned it earlier, man, like it feels like right now, I think we're all going to talk about it in just a second, is 3 runs might be enough to beat NC State. So you damn sure better not be giving them up.
Yeah, and talking about the defense too, I just want to add a caveat to that. So the Liberty game that we lost 9-8, where they scored 4 runs in the ninth, probably not many people are aware that Duden's stat line was 0 earned runs. We had an opportunity in the game, had a double play ball, and then you can't assume the double play, but we got nothing out of. And then don't get out of that, and they end up having a big inning. The other thing I want to say about the defense is, and you talked about range in the outfield, getting the balls. We made 8 errors this week in 4 games, but if you're a baseball guy and you're watching us play defense right now, and it's a whole lot easier even to see in person. If we made 8 errors that you can easily just take out your pencil in the scorebook and write an error, there was 8 more on plays you feel like you should make. You're a Division I ball club. That ball is hit there, you make the play. And I didn't. Go ahead.
Coastal tag twice, second to third, on balls hit to left center field. I mean, it can't happen.
Can't happen.
One time he left early, but I don't know if he did or not. But he still, you can't allow, like, it's little things like that. To your point, like that don't show up in the scorecard. Like Josh Hogue not making a play in right field doesn't show up in the scorecard. Doesn't show up as an error, but it was essentially a 4-run misplay, or play that you would expect somebody to make. Would it have been a nice play? Probably so, like a little above average defensive play. But we've come to expect guys at NC State to make those plays.
Adam?
Yeah, and Avent said after the game that he should have made the catch, which obviously it looked like it to us watching. But what are we even talking about now?
The bad. Can't be ugly yet. We're just going for we're on bad.
Yeah, it's blurred. I'm down bad right now, man.
Me too. I'm in bad shape too.
Yeah, I'm down bad.
Adam's morale's bad.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I would say I'm gonna save for the ugly, I guess. Just to make it simple. I mean, I would say the fielding as well. I mean, I don't know.
Go ahead to ugly, Adam. Give us the ugly.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
I think Alex, you were hitting on it to start with. I mean, I think, and y'all talking about the number of runs we scored. I mean, there was some talk about pitches and locating pitches and walking too many guys and this and that sort of thing, and talking about unearned runs that we're giving up. All that's one thing, but I mean, Jesus, you gotta score. I mean, you gotta get guys on. You gotta advance guys. You gotta, I mean, we did make some attempts to get some bunts down and move some guys over in the first game yesterday after getting shut out the day before, which I like to see. I mean, offensively, and again, I get it. We're a super young team. I think have enough experienced guys. And, granted, talking about a lot of sophomores and juniors here. But, we just, expected a lot from these guys. And, I get it. I mean, Event was talking about, it's early in the season. Batters typically, start off early in the season behind pitchers, and then, catch up, over the course of the season, which I agree with. So, I mean, I think we'll get there. I'm just disappointed in the amount of run support we're getting this staff that we have right now. That would be for me, that's my ugly.
How many times do we look at the scoreboard this weekend in the 3 Ohio State games and they have more runs than hits?
The other thing was,
didn't end the game necessarily, but there were like multiple times where they had like 4 hits and 7 runs. And you're like, they put so much pressure on you.
Yeah, it was. I think it was in the 6th inning yesterday when we scored. Was that in the 6th when we scored 2 in the top? I think they played the NC State fight song at the stadium, and that was the first time we had heard that since we had been there all 3 days. Anyway, yeah, I'm disappointed in the amount of runs that run support that we're able to put together. I mean, again, I feel like, it's not like we don't have talented guys. I would like to see some changes to the lineup. I would expect to see some changes. I think there's some guys that we need to get a look. I mean, Event hinted at in one of the press conferences, hey, maybe we got the wrong guys in there, and I think we certainly are at the point where it's, worth shaking up.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut you off there, Adam, because I want to get into that discussion.
Yeah, that's good. Okay,
get done. One of the things I'm gonna say, ugly, that after we all have kind of said, our pitching is good enough. Is the ratio that we are throwing of balls to strikes concerns me. Like, you have to get ahead of hitters. I will say that, when you look at even the other day, I guess Dom gave up 1 earned run. I mean, his ERA is 1 right now through 9 innings, but he has 8 walks and 2 hit batters. That means he's allowed 10 base runners in 9 innings that are just free passes. You look at the Alabama game, and he threw or not the Alabama game, I'm sorry, the Ohio State game where he started, he threw 100 and what was the number? He threw 109 pitches, 56 for a strike. If you look at Duden yesterday against Coastal, Duden came in against Coastal. He threw 18 pitches and threw 8 strikes. Those 2 guys are the 2. I'm not just picking on them, but they have dominant stuff. And when you have dominant stuff, like, the most important pitch is strike 1. I kept telling that to Adam yesterday. I was like, if he just gets one over, I told Alex before we came on, I said, hell, if I'm going up against Duden or Dom right now, I might take till I get a strike. Like, instead of trying to ambush, sometimes they say you go up there and try to ambush a guy that's just lights out. You just go up there and the first fastball that he tries to, get me over, you just try to ambush. Those guys right now, it's almost like, if that slider that Duden's got so devastating, well, if I can get in a 3-1 count or 2-0 count, then, you like your chances a lot better than obviously in a 0-1, 0-2 count. So I do think that, like, to me, not getting ahead of in counts, I mean, that it's hard too. It's hard to stand out there at second base or shortstop, and your guy's just sitting there, and you're going 6, 7, 8 pitch at bats because every at bat's going full count or 3-1 or you're walking guys. So I think that's something I harped on last year. I think after the Hawaii series, I kind of lost my mind. Hawaii was pimping walks in that series early in the year. Y'all remember they would walk and throw the bat up in there, and so I want to see us cut down on the walks. I just, baseball's changed a little bit. Everybody's like, oh, we're just going to strike out so many guys. That, to me, is just not the way the game's play. I don't care. we're trying to go out and you got to earn your way on base. So I think we've had some ugly stat lines from some pitching this weekend as far as walks, and no excuse to like walk guys when your stuff's that damn good. I mean, you look at Dom; they're hitting 258 against him. Heath Andrews, they're hitting 139 against him. You know, as a team, opponents are hitting 246 against us. I mean, when you got that kind of stuff, go challenge guys. Let's not walk them 35 times and hit them another 9 and throw another 11 wild pitches. Let's go after guys. You got good stuff. Alex?
Yeah, to me, I'm not. I hesitate to use the term approach when we talk about State's offense and like the approach that State takes at the plate, because I think and you guys have done a really nice job of having guys on the podcast to talk about how State's coaching staff approaches hitting, and to me it just seems like it's aggressive, right? But like they kind of just let guys go play at the plate, which I appreciate. I think AMAC was incredibly enlightening when he was on y'all's show talking about that. But right now, to me, it just doesn't feel like there's an identity at the plate. It doesn't feel like there's an approach, right? And, you look at last year, State's superpower, I talked about this a lot. I talked about it here, talked about it on IPS. Like, they didn't strike out. And they just put so many damn balls in play that eventually it worked out. Like, and it wasn't all the time. AMAC and Pennington could step on one. We know Serrano could. We know Kozart could. But then you get past that and you start getting into the, Butterworth. Hebner was playing a lot. Luke. Those guys just got up there and fought. And it was, a little bloop over the second baseman that led to a base runner. And then, maybe a push bunt and make the third baseman make a play and you get guys on first and second. You turn the lineup over and you get your big bats up and you have a big inning. We're missing that right now. There's a ton of swing and miss. I looked at it because I was curious. I remember how good it was, but it blows my mind to go back and look. State's K rate, if you go down the lineup last year, Sosa was the worst of the guys that played the most at 25.2%, which he's unfortunately carried over to this year. But a guy like, Luke Nixon was struck out 15.2% of the time last year, which is an incredible rate. He's striking out at 25% of the time right now, 26% of the time. That's a significant change. I mean, guys, but it's actually incredible to look at. Like AMAC was 17, Hogue was 16.5, Luke was 15. Freaking Noah Souls struck out 10% of the time. That's it. That dude just didn't strike out. You had guys at the bottom of the lineup that just stacked pitches on the other team because they're just fighting. And it's missing that right now. And that's a little frustrating to me. I would definitely consider that to be the ugly. And that plays into what we just talked about, right? Or what you just talked about with the pitcher's got enough time to throw the pullover on just to take it off. Like he's not sitting down, not getting a breather. He doesn't, last year they would cut to the dugout occasionally on the broadcast, and you'd see the guys having to get the balls out and throw them against the wall, the weighted ball, to keep their shoulder loose because they're getting ready to go back in, but they'd sit down for 30 minutes because State's hitting around. And we have not seen that. Are we going to see it? I think we'll talk about that too. Maybe. I don't know. Like I'm struggling to find it. You know what it feels like to me? You guys remember in 2023, NC State football, how it felt like if the defense didn't score a touchdown, State wasn't going to win for a while there. And then Armstrong came on late in the year and things got better offensively. But for about an 8-week stretch, if the defense gave up 2 touchdowns, the game was over. It feels like that. I don't know what the equivalent of that is for baseball. Call it 3-4 runs. But the difference is your pitchers can't score.
Yeah.
Right. Like, like Peyton Wilson can't pick off Cade Klubnik and take it to the house. Consiglio can't go take the ball from the other team's batter and run it over center field wall for a 2-run home run. So we got it. The bats have to come alive. They got to figure it out.
Yeah, it's hard to play elevate and celebrate. I mean, when you can't.
Yeah. What's the opposite? The dribbler to the mound and walk back to the dugout.
Yeah, I mean, gosh.
I don't know how to make that rhyme, but that's what I'm seeing.
And like you talk about Luke too, and Sosa, like they're two different they got 2 different roles now. Last year Sosa was like down there batting 7th. Man,
he was like step on one.
Yeah,
you strike out.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah, hit it in the trees, man. Like that's what you're here for. Like we got some pop down in the lineup. Or, Luke, I think Luke kind of bounced all over the lineup now, but now like you're asking him, hey, you got to set the table. So a little bit different roles they're in. I do think both those guys, they're too good, or they're too talented. I expect them to snap out of it. I mean, Alex Sosa last year in the postseason was phenomenal. Luke, was a glue guy all year with that. Not just a glue guy. I mean, he was a pivotal piece last year. Played all over the field. Did a lot of things for us. So, and Luke's still, Luke's still hitting 296. But when you're so anemic offensively, or feel like it, you're looking for somebody to bust through. We pulled the stat earlier that if you take away the series versus Fordham, in the 4 games this week, we hit 190. 190. That's kind of hard to do. I mean, and really, I think, I know the kid from Coastal came in with he had coming off a 7-inning outing where he just shoved. And the kid from Alabama, really the best arm we saw all week is the kid from Alabama. He came back from, I think, Tommy John. He was 97, 98. Everything I read, he was, 95, 96 early in the game. He was on a pitch count. The only reason he only threw 4 innings is because he had Tommy John last year. And they're, kind of handling with kid gloves. But he was 97, 98 in the 4th. I mean, elite arm. So can only help to take this lineup and see pitches and get at bats against those guys. But obviously, offensively, you feel like we have a long way to go. So that I was going to piggyback on that. I knew the offense was going to be a lot of our ugly discussion. So the question I have for you guys now, and Phil, I want Wesley to start us off with the quote you gave us, Wesley. You said you weren't going to give the quote. What was your quote about the pine or something? Just give me the quote, Wesley. I need it.
Oh yeah. Well, it's a famous Bobby Knight quote, and Bobby Knight says sometimes ass needs to meet bench, and I think we got some players that ass needs to meet bench, and my frustration goes back, and I think we need to get over the. We don't want to be too negative on this podcast. Again, it's early, but the frustration. I thought on Tuesday night against Liberty, I would have pinch hit Bechtel at the end of the game. That was. I thought that Novi looked very uncomfortable in the box when he came in there. And then throughout the weekend, as anemic as the offense was, we've talked about this for the last 32 minutes of this recording. Bechtel never got a hit, never got an at bat. So I don't really understand the formula to at least give him a shot. Because if I go down all of our stats, I see one guy that's batting 1,000. So, hey, if you go to a tournament, you're in Jacksonville, Florida, and it's an embarrassing showing offensively, which there's nothing short of embarrassing. Why don't we give the guy an at bat that has had one chance and he hit one home run? So that is, I guess my take, going into that.
1 for 1 for 435 feet.
Yeah, so I don't know if we need to start a campaign free Bechtel or what, but give him an opportunity, and we talked about, I'm excited to see again, Cal, you already touched on it with Trent Lyons, and he's another one of these athletic guys that you can plug and play anywhere on the field, and these guys are going to have to get chances, and I think that's one of the the advantages of this team that maybe we didn't have last year and some other years, that there are guys that you can plug into the lineup if someone's not playing well. And I only see 3 or 4 guys, in this lineup that should be considered, in Sharpie every, weekend. And I think we have some guys, and I think that's a good thing, from a competition standpoint. So I hope we do, change it up a little bit tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon. Don't even know what time the game starts. And then this weekend to give guys opportunities, because you can't do anything if you don't get a chance.
That was going to be my next question. So you said we got 3 or 4 guys, and I'll volunteer first, but I'd like to hear from each of you on the 3 or 4 guys, 5 guys that you feel like that they have to play in the lineup. They have to be in the lineup, whether it's DHing, whether it's, in the field. Like, who are the guys that you feel like have their names are in Sharpie obviously, I don't think anybody on our roster has totally they outright own a position. I think we're looking for somebody to bring us a spark right now. But I mean, I think if you look at your two middle infielders, I said before the season start, I think Justin Acaricio, Luke Nixon are going to play every day, and that's a combination of defense and of production. I think that if you look at Braden Frostman so far, he hits a lot of balls hard. He does.
Yep.
I don't know.
That was going to be he was going to be my choice.
I don't think that he's got to necessarily play left field every day. I mean, if he needs a day off and you want to run somebody else out to get some at bats, he can DH, but he's got to be in the lineup. We need power so bad that you have to play him. Same thing with McHugh. I don't know that he's got to play first base every day. Maybe we find some option at first base that we maybe feel like gives us a little bit more defensively. But McHugh is hitting 360, and he hits a lot of balls hard. Other than that, I mean, I think Sosa. We expect Sosa to be that guy. Right now, Sosa is struggling a little bit. I think he got a couple of days off from behind the dish this weekend. Sosa's a guy that if I put a fifth one in there, I expect Sosa to play every day. He's like one of those guys that the production he had late last year that we're counting on him. If we get to the scenario where Alex Sosa is not an everyday guy, I think that probably says more bad about where we are than good, because he's a guy that, from a recruiting standpoint, from a production standpoint, last year in the postseason run, you expect that guy to play every day. But, that's 4 or 5 names. Do you guys thoughts on that kind of a lineup with mine or?
Yeah.
What about you, Alex?
Yeah.
All right, Adam, go ahead, Adam.
No, I mean, I think he hadn't wowed us, with a lot of power or anything, but I think Ty Head's been pretty solid too. I mean, he's got a 500 on base percentage. I mean, he's drawn 8 walks. He's only struck out 3 times. He's been clean in the field. He's our only starter without an error.
Wow, I didn't catch that stat.
I do think
Your center fielder's the only player on the whole team with that.
Yeah, I'm the only starter, right? And so, I think he's been pretty solid, right? I mean, I think he's deserved the. I don't see making any changes there, I guess is what we're talking about, right? So,
yeah, I don't know that I agree with you on that. I mean, it's fine, but I feel like outfield right now, I'm just going revolving door till I find 3 guys that are giving me some juice.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, he's getting on base. Getting on base. I mean, he's getting on base at a pretty good clip. So, I mean,
And I think the long game you're playing with him is too. I mean, obviously he's one of the top rated recruits in the country for a reason. So, like, I understand the long game. At the same time, right now, I think spark wise, I feel like.
Yeah, no, we got a lot of other pieces that could be a bigger spark at the plate, no question.
I don't care if we go 3. You say Lyons is healthy. I don't care if we go 3 games in a row and start 9 different outfielders until we figure something out. Alex?
Yeah, I think I hate to invoke basketball on this sacred space where we don't talk about basketball unless we go to the Final Four. But it kind of like, to me, it feels not too dissimilar. It seems like there's just a lot of guys that are kind of the same right now, and like any given day, I would not be surprised to see, call it Jaros, Austin Fort, McHugh, Ogue. If none of those guys got a hit, or if they all went 3 for 4, I don't think I'd be surprised either way. You know what I'm saying? It's Paul McNeil coming in, scoring 24 points, and then, hell, whenever we play next, I don't even keep up with it anymore. He'll score 4 and play 8 minutes, And I don't know. I think that's good and bad. Like, it's good from the sense that you have choices, and last year there were no choices. But we knew what we had all the time. And guys had solidified themselves. And I think, it's interesting. It's more of a conversation about roster building, I think, than anything, right? Like, last season you go into the portal and you take 3 old guys that had played. I mean, one guy had played literally the most games of any person ever to play college baseball. And this year, you don't. Right, you do literally the opposite, which I don't know if, and it's to be determined if that's the right or wrong approach. But you take the guys that are, the top 50 recruits that maybe didn't get as much burn at their last stop, but when Ryan Jarrow steps on the field, he looks like a really good ball player. He's put together. You can see why he was recruited the way he was. But Matt Hevner at, God bless him, 5'10", 163 pounds, is outplaying him right now defensively, and Jarrell's probably gives you more at the plate, but
Don't even look like they're playing the same sport.
right. But that's a guy that's played in Omaha versus a guy that, played 23 games for Georgia Tech last year, however many it was. Part of that was due to injury, but so I'm not sure. I'm with you. I think Frosman looks really good. I texted you guys this. I can't believe he came from a JUCO looking like that. They don't have meal plans there, and he is put together. When he gets a season of eating a training table and lifting on a college program, he's going to look really good if we can bring him back next year. So DeCrisio, he's frustrated me defensively at times. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because I know how good he has been and how many games he's played. But he's offensively, I've not been disappointed at all. He's squaring the ball up. He's had some really bad luck. He had some really bad luck this weekend too. He hit the ball in the screws multiple times, just right at somebody. So that's kind of where I stand. I'm not so sure. Like, the best thing for this team, first off, I think, is for the DH spot to be available and not be Alex Sosa. I think that's really important. Like Sosa, and I think he got set down because he wasn't the sharpest Friday behind the plate. He's got to be, and that's been a position of great strength for State the last 3 years. I mean, Jacob Cozart, picked early in the second round. He was a brick wall. And even when he wasn't hitting, you knew he could catch, and he had to catch, and that freed up the DH spot. And with the way this roster is constructed, if that DH spot is open to be, it could be 3 guys. And
to figure out who's hot.
Who's hot. Lanfear's hot, cool. If it's Austin Fort, cool. If it's Jaros, cool. If it's Lion, I don't care. Anybody. Just whoever's swinging the stick, that's who it should be. And I feel like we've had teams in the past where it was like that. Like Will Marcy would show up and play DH or right field randomly, and then he'd disappear for 2 weeks because he cooled off, and then you throw Chase Nixon out there, and you keep it moving. So I don't know. I think unfortunately it's a wait and see, but I think that's the plan, and that's where that's where the optimism lies, is that these guys have talent. They got to see pitching. They got to get live ABs, and they got to play. They just saw what tournament baseball looks like. Like what all those teams, it would not, if Ohio State snuck in as the 58th team into the tournament, wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, they're going to go put a lot of pressure on people in the Big Ten, and they're going to. I mean, they might be one of those guys that gets hot in a conference tournament, and you just, especially when if they can win a game or two, and then you get deeper into some staffs, they could wreak some havoc just because of the style they play. Wesley?
No, I think you guys pretty much covered everything. I mean, again, it comes back to last year. I think we were pretty spoiled on the corners with Pennington and AMAC, really being vacuums, and then also what they brought to the plate every game. And then this year, when we look at, again, not to be negative, but first base and third base seems almost like a disaster, through the first 7 games of the season, other than Hebner, and then you look at Hebner's stat line offensively, and he's batting 0. I mean, that's, back to the whole point of this conversation. You got those 3 or 4, maybe 5 guys that, should be concretely in the lineup every game. And that's just not the case, so hopefully competition is going to breed several players coming out of this that are going to start really producing when we get into conference play.
I want Hebner to hit 250 so badly, because if he hits 250, you're fine. Because even with his 0 right now, he's 4 sacrifice hits and a walk and a hit.
He hit one hard yesterday.
Yeah, and he's not striking out. He's the only one that's consistent with last year. I think he's at 15% K rate right now. So he's so good defensively. He's just got to be out there.
I agree.
13 assists, no errors, and a put out. You know, I agree with you, Alex. If that guy hits 250, you just let him play every day because of what he's going to bring you.
And sub him out in the seventh. If it's a
Defensively.
big.
Yeah.
That's fine. Like you lived the last 2 innings of.
I'll tell you how good Hebner is defensively. If you watch N&O pregame, he takes ground balls at third, short, and second. He was starting at third base in game 2, and he took ground balls before the game at third, short, and second.
Chris Hart, his freshman year, said if Gino Groover wasn't at NC State, Matt Hebner would be the best third baseman in the ACC defensively. And I think we've seen that show up.
Yep. He can glove it. All right. So this weekend tomorrow we have Richmond.
Don't skip the Spiders.
That's right. Gee, he's a former
Come on
Spider.
now. They played.
That's what I was about to say. I want to mention they played 2 games yesterday and 1 today. So tomorrow they're playing their 4th game in 3 days. Hopefully we catch some arms that are right for the picking. So we have the Spiders tomorrow, and then we have a 3-game set with Canisius, who went 0-3 this weekend. But did anybody see the scores against James Madison? If you guys don't remember James Madison, I think 36 or 38 win James Madison that came to James Madison was a joke last year in the regional and kind of wreaked a little havoc, beat South Carolina. Did y'all see the scores this weekend?
I did not.
So Canisius didn't hit. You know, you talk about not hitting. I think they're hitting 168 now through 3 games. But against James Madison this weekend, their scores were, I want to say they didn't give up more than 5.
6 once. 2-5,
Yeah.
1-6, 2-5.
Yep, 5-2, 6-1, 5-2. So it makes you think maybe, don't sleep on Canisius the way we've been swinging the bats. They might come in and we might get in a low scoring affair if we can't get it going offensively. But I do think after this weekend, I'd hate to know that I was turning around and playing even a Pittsburgh or someone expected to finish at the bottom of the ACC. I'm glad that we get to regroup, lick our wounds, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if we were to drop one of these 4 games. God knows, I hope not. But an opportunity to maybe dial back the competition level just a touch and get some different guys out there. So what are y'all looking to see this week? I think we kind of touched on a lot of that already, but I think I expect us to shake up the lineup, and I'm really personally looking forward to that, whether it's Ryder Woodson making a start, or a Jet Gilliam, or a Jake Bechtel, or if we DH McHugh. Novi played first base the last inning yesterday against Coastal. Like, I'm just looking to see what we do from a shaking it up standpoint to see if we can find a spark.
I do like what Alex suggested about freeing up the DH spot. If we can get whether Sosa is a little banged up, or if he's just if Avent was just giving him a break because of his play on Friday. I didn't pick up on that. My damn teeth were chattering during the game on Friday, so I wasn't paying attention to the balls after they crossed the plate, so I couldn't hardly concentrate from my teeth chattering. So
I was about to say, man, you guys
holy
escaped North Carolina
smokes.
to Florida in February. You expect at least like mid 50s. You weren't even getting that.
That Friday game was as
it was
cold
like
as I sat
46 in the wind. Well, it had to be a wind chill of like 33
Might have
because
been
it was
colder there than it was in Burlington, man.
yeah, it was cold.
to.
But I will say I was gonna make that I was gonna make the comment that the last 2 days though Lanphier did look good behind the plate because
Thought so too.
he looked a little rusty. That Saturday was it Saturday of the Fordham series?
Yes.
And
Yep.
a couple balls leaked by him and that sort of thing. Obviously, with the opponent there was no harm done, but he didn't look very sharp defensively, I thought, but he did look good the last 2 days.
He threw a guy out Saturday, I think, right? I think he caught a guy stealing Saturday.
I mentioned the cow yesterly. He looked really good throwing it down every time.
In between innings, he was
in between innings. He
strikes.
really looked sharp. So But I agree, it would be nice to free up the DH and trying to get a revolving door there maybe, and just find that spark like y'all were talking about, because that's certainly something we need. I mean, we got a tough, we got 5 games next week, right? Don't we play 2 midweeks next week, including Campbell?
2 tough ones, UNCG and Campbell.
Yeah.
Wesley?
Just harping on it again, just for some guys to get some more opportunities than they've already had. So, I mean, I think this is a good 4-game stretch to see what some guys can do that haven't had a chance yet, and really hope Trent Lyons is healthy this week to see what he can do.
Alex?
Want some life, man. I don't know. You guys were there. I think the flow of the game, watching on TV, it just felt done, dead. It didn't. There wasn't a lot of juice. I want to see some of that. And Cal, you and I were chatting a few minutes ago. I wonder. So I'm interested, I guess, in seeing who's going to emerge as the leader for this team. I know you guys have talked about that when you're discussing your previews. But last year, you could, you throw a ball off the wall, let it bounce 6 times, it's going to land in somebody's locker that can lead the team. You got so many guys. I mean, Cozart, Highfield, Whitaker, Serrano, Butterworth, Pennington, McRaven. I mean, all those guys play a ton of games, and we're old, and we're going to be listened to and well respected. Somebody's got to emerge as that. Somebody's got to earn it. I don't know. It could come from anywhere. It can be Braden Fraseman. It can be Ty Head. It could be anybody. Luke Nixon is kind of like the obvious choice because
Alex Sosa
played Sosa. Those guys, they played a lot last year, but they're still just second-year guys. That's what's interesting about this team. So, who's gonna right the ship? Because I think, shoot, man, we had conversations last year during some skids. I swear we might have said it while I was on this podcast. You might have said it, Cal. It was right after the Georgia Tech series. I think you did. You said Jacob Cozart ain't gonna let this happen again. You could see it during those games. This is the skid. This ain't gonna happen again. And sure as hell, you figure it out as the year goes on, and you just start clicking. That's the thing. They got to get some momentum. Somebody's got to step up and lead it. Get the vibes right. Vibes matter.
Yeah, and you wonder who that guy is. I mean, you just had some kind of grit, like you said, some grizzled veterans last year that, and I mean,
if they said something, nobody was going to question it.
No, I mean, I can't imagine. You look at Logan Whitaker, some of the guys, some of the young bucks on last year's team that he was down there in the bullpen with. I mean, they were
he was hanging out with their dads in the parking lot.
Yeah, I mean, and Noah Souls, he just kind of strikes you as this kind of guy. I mean, this dude might have his pocket knife in his back pocket. I mean, Sam Highfield, Cozart. Eli Serrano was a guy everybody knew last year was getting drafted at the end of the year. He commanded, respect. I mean,
he's flying into walls in center field.
Yeah, playing a hell of a center field.
Yeah.
And you wonder who that guy's going to be. You kind of look at it a little bit sometimes from a personality standpoint, but it doesn't have to be the guy that is the most fired up, rah-rah, ree-ree guy. I mean,
Pennington wasn't at all.
Sam Highfield and Garrett Pennington were emotionless. Mm-hmm. But you also knew that, I think if Sam said something in the locker room after a game, people listened. I know if he spoke in the locker room, he commanded their respect. And it's kind of hard with a young team to kind of figure out who that's going to be. You have a Dom Fritton, he's played a lot. Dom strikes me as a pretty calm guy. But it might take, someone like Dom, who probably plans on this being his last year in Raleigh, to kind of rally the troops and get this thing going in the right direction. Or it could be one of those young guys, like you said, like a Luke Nixon, or a Ryan Marone, or that of Jacob Duden, that have played on the big stage and have played a lot of meaningful innings for us. And it's time for them to step up and be not only a leader performance wise, but a vocal leader and a leader in the locker room as well.
Those cats, they need to go sit down together and watch Game 3 of the Georgia series.
Yeah.
Jacob Duden just needs to put that on repeat in his room. Hey, you're still the same guy that put in the game with the bases loaded to strike out Charlie Condon, and Sosa's still the same guy that hit the ball into the fraternity brothers' laps. You're still that dude.
That's in there.
It's in there.
Yeah, and I look at Duden. I mean, his ERA right now is 11.50. That guys, last year when I made my prediction on D-Rock, I think his ERA was 16. I'm telling you, if you throw 98 and we were sitting behind home plate yesterday, my little boy was squatting down. He was trying. I was like, Carson, you want to see what 98 looks like? Go sit behind home plate. He's sitting back there, wide eyed. Like, buddy, when you throw 98 and you got that slider, it's a matter of time. He's gonna figure it out. So you just hope that he can stay calm and not freak out and just keep doing the things that got him to where he was to begin with. Who do you guys expect to be our starters this week? Do you think we'll see any change up in the rotation? And then we can talk about the midweek guy too.
I'd be
I think
surprised
so.
if it
Willitson.
wasn't Willitson,
Yeah.
Fritten, Andrews
Yes.
again.
Yeah, same. That's my.
I think on the weekend, I agree. I wouldn't be totally shocked. I don't know like how they're handling Willitson. I wouldn't be totally shocked if you see a Andrew Schaffner who's thrown some extended innings. If you maybe run him out there just to see, is he a guy that maybe brings you that potential, becomes that
The way
potential
they
midweek
treated
guy.
Willitson in the first weekend, honestly, it surprised me that he started the Liberty game because he came in right after Marone on Sunday. I kind of put it through my head that might just be their plan. Like, especially if Andrews continues to pitch well, you have 4 starters basically.
Yeah,
And you use Marone straight into Willitson on Sunday. That lets you exhaust your other guys Friday and Saturday if you have to.
even at Jackson Lucas too. I mean,
His
Try to-
changeup looks really freaking good.
do they try to
Yeah.
extend him? He's thrown one bad pitch this year.
Wimbish, hey, he figured it out. He struggled a little bit in his first appearance. It was a little loose, a little wild, but I thought his stuff is really good, and it looked really good. I guess it was Sunday he came in. Was it Coastal, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, he reaches back. He is not a no effort guy. He is a max effort guy, and that is sometimes hard to be a starter like that because it takes a toll on your body. But it's hard as a hitter to stand in there and look at that.
I know Wes is a kid like me and spends a lot of time on YouTube, if I remember correctly. I don't know how much time you guys look at YouTube. There's a good YouTube channel called Wheels that posts all the any game that's streamed. They post like a 12-minute recap of it. It's pretty great. I mean, they got a ton of old NC State games, and I'll occasionally find myself like watching some random Tuesday night NC State game from 3 years ago. The fact that we lost to Liberty kind of grinds my gears a little bit. I know it doesn't matter that much, like the weekend series or what matters. But I went back and watched, like, I don't remember, like a 2022 midweek, and the guys that we were running out there to face like ECU in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th inning, and no, that's why we lost. Like you're reaching back, but there's no excuse anymore. If you're starting,
Yeah, we got enough. Yeah,
there's enough guys. You start and you go Willitson to what do we do against Liberty? Do you have it? It was Willitson to Schaffner.
It was
Schaffner was last.
it was Willinson to Consiglio to Nance to Schaffner to Duden.
the dude.
You should not lose that game.
Yeah. Yeah,
Those are all guys you pitch against Florida State.
Yeah, Cal and I made the comment yesterday. When you go Marone, Duden, Consiglio, you're hoping that you're not going to having to go to, to the bullpen again. So that's tough. I think Consiglio too, man. I'm telling you, he's not off by much. I mean, I think he's obviously got to find the zone a little bit better than he has. I think he's come in some precarious spots, but he's a guy I still really, really trust. He is he's a little more animated out there. I mean, he's got it in him. I'm still excited about Consiglio. I really am. I mean, I think it's a little bit. I would be probably pushing for him to maybe be one of those, competing for one of those starting roles if it weren't for the situation with D-Rock. I think we probably do need him in the pen to help set up Duden potentially, if D-Rock's not going to be back soon. But he's another guy I still really, really trust. I mean, yesterday, just sitting there and watching him, up close, he really looked good. Again, he walked some guys, but he was close.
Really close.
Mark.
Go ahead.
Like that's kind of underrated, and Chrysler for a lot of State fans I'm doing the wave of my hand if you're just listening, up and down for a lot of people, right? But I really appreciated that. I guess it was the 6th, right? So Marone comes back out for the 6th, which I think was the right choice. I think he went like a 1-pitch ground out, strikeout in the 5th. Like he was pitching well, kind of cruising. Let him go get the 6th. Was it a 3-2 walk to start the inning, I think, and then a bunt that I thought he made a good enough play, and maybe not the best play at first, that let it get to first and second. So it was a 3-4 ball game at that point, I think.
Yep.
And Chrysler went to Duden in the 6th. And I really, really appreciated that your closer doesn't have to pitch just the 8th and the 9th inning. Like the most important at bat in that game was the next one, and you bring in the guy you think's your best arm in Jacob Duden. Now he ain't throwing like it right now, but that's what they did against Georgia, right? In the Super, they brought him in with the bases loaded to face Condon, and they didn't wait. They didn't go to, no offense to Anderson Nance or somebody like that, they didn't go to one of those maybe middle relief guys. They went to their high leverage guy in the highest leverage spot. It just didn't work out. But I really appreciate that mindset of the coaching staff to know, like, hey, right here, these are the outs we got to get. Let's throw our guy that can go get 3 strikeouts. Didn't
Exactly.
happen, but
Yeah.
I think you can count on that.
And it also means that you trust somebody behind them
Exactly
to finish the game. Like, when you have, Consiglio out there, Kelly came in and
so the broadcast guys were talking when Wimbish was out there. They're like, if you're not like his demeanor and the stuff that he brings, like, you talk about him reaching back, he looks like a guy that probably rips a couple smelling salts before he takes it. Like, but like that's the guy that, 8 out of 10 teams, he's the closer this year. And he's probably the 3rd option to close a game right now for State. Like, I mean, that's it's out there.
Yep, and I said the exact same thing when they brought Duden in. I said, we're 1st and 3rd. I was like, they're bringing him in because they want to punch these. They want to punch him out 3 times, and they believe he can do it. It also tells you they believe he can do it. Not no matter what. He got hit around a little bit. He struggled with command. They still believe he's that guy, and I think we all do too. So let's wrap it up. What are you predicting we do this week? Wesley, you were called Nostradamus for 2 games, and then you fell apart. None of us had a pristine record last week.
Yeah, we're one of the top baseball programs in the country. We're going to go out and we're going to figure it out this week, and we'll be 4-0. And I think it's just a reset, and again, a good opportunity for some guys to get some to have an opportunity to show what they can do.
Adam?
I say, since we no longer have the pressure of being ranked and the pressure that comes with that, I agree. I think we go 4-0.
Alex?
Yeah, I think you have to, man. 4-0. And since I won't be here more than likely to talk about the next weekend series, I think you got to keep winning.
Yep.
Like, well, first off, it's going to be 72 degrees tomorrow, so there's no more cold weather excuse. Like, this is it. It's spring now, I guess. I think you look forward just for fun here. Like you mentioned it, like that's the next week is tough. It's UNCG, Campbell, and then to 3 against Wright State, who's not very good. Then you get A&T, but then it's Virginia Tech. I think you can lose one more before Virginia Tech, and I'd still like. We lose one more, I'm still feeling good. We lose more than one, I'm kind of, maybe I'm getting a little antsy. So you got to go 4-0 this week, and then you can maybe slip once between UNCG and Campbell. Whew.
So what, we got 10 games between now and Virginia Tech?
That sounds right, yeah.
I mean, if you run off 10 in a row and you're 13-4, you're getting pretty excited to see if we measure up. We're definitely putting the cart before the horse. But, yeah, I agree. We're going to go 4-0 this week. We need to go 4-0. I think Coach Avent, this is where having a guy that's done it this long, I can tell you, I saw his body language all weekend. He's a pretty calm guy a lot of the times. I mean, we all know he's famous for his spin move. He can get riled up. He was not – it wasn't even the animated mad. You could just look at the guy. He was pissed off for 3 days straight. Like, he was just sick. What did he say in the technician? That he hopes they go home and watch every game?
He was pissed off Tuesday night. He told in the press conference last night, they said something about how do you forget these? How do you erase these games and move on? He says, I don't want to erase them. He says, we got a 7.5-hour bus ride home. He said, these games were streamed on D1, but maybe we can find a way to play them all on the way home. Yeah. So they won't forget just how bad of baseball this was.
Yep. So I think we're going to I think we're going to rally the troops, and we'll be back to talk about it next week. Any closing thoughts from anybody before I play this beautiful music I got? Alex, you look like you might have something. Do you have anything?
In football, we like to do the thing where we talk about favorable schedules, right? State opens the ACC with Virginia Tech and Pitt. No offense to Virginia Tech and Pitt, but with how damn good the ACC is top to bottom, those are the two teams I would like to open my ACC schedule with. So to take it even further than the next 10, that's your next 17 if you count Davidson in there. And string them together here. Stack it up.
Grow up as a team, grow up as a ball club. There's not any better time than the current to get hot and put together ones.
Because then you go Duke and Virginia and ECU and
Yeah.
A
lot of teeth. So, all right, we'll see what happens. Go Pack.
Go Pack. Cue the
Go
music.
Pack again. Baby.